All right. Welcome to episode 292. I'm Credo.
And I'm JB.
JB, man. Happy election day, man.
Yes.
This is it. Did you vote?
I did. I voted twice.
You voted? You can't vote twice.
Listen, what they don't know, you know.
Well, I guess you get to vote for everybody.
I mean, I was speaking to you a little bit off air, and you seemed a little confused earlier about this whole voting thing. So what happened when you were in the...
Well, apparently Jack Tunney wasn't on the ballot this year, so I figured if you're going to vote for a president or something, go with the OG, Jack Tunney, man. But no, it's all right. You know, everybody's voting out there. That's what they're doing. 6
people just popped for that. I just want you to know.
6 people for the Jack Tunney thing. Guys, kids, Google it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll learn about it. A lot going on today, man. A lot going on all week leading up to this show. We had a lot of interesting comments on social.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the chat, some tag teams commenting on it.
Sure.
We are going to be speaking to Josh Shernoff in a little bit, guys. So stay tuned for that. Manager of Sent to Slaughter. He popped in last week when the Now was on the show. We're going to talk to him a little bit about what was going on and all that stuff, right? So, what else, man? This is
I mean, I just want to kind of put this out there. There was a lot of aspersions being cast on what we do here.
It's a big word.
Yep. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say that obviously, being the most professional podcaster, I take what we do very seriously, and we're not on anybody's payroll. We're not on any. We do this for fun.
Yeah.
And I think that I just want to make that clear off the top. There were some comments being made about propaganda, and that maybe you and I were on the take somehow.
Don't read the comments. You're never supposed to read the comments.
I know.
You're never gonna like what people are saying in the comments.
Yeah. So. Well, I just I think that was maybe a little unfair.
Sure. Yeah.
But I'm excited to have Josh on today to see what he has to say, and as you mentioned, a lot of feedback on last week's episode. We had in studio the ACW Tag Team Champions, and they spoke a lot about what led up to the match at the last ACW show. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Josh what his side of the story, rather.
No, for sure. But without any further ado, guys, he's an award-winning host. He's a color commentator, manager of the decade. He has a plaque for, and he's the guiding light for Sent to Slaughter, guys. If we have him, Josh Shernoff is here with us live. Josh, man, thanks for joining us this week.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. I really wasn't sure whether or not you guys would extend the invitation to have me here after what took place last week, but I do appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
Listen, we're happy to have you on the show, and this time even properly scheduled. So, thanks for...
Hey, you guys said someone should call in. Anyone who has something to say.
We did say that. We did say that. That is correct.
I mean, I'm also, of course, a fan of this show. I wasn't just tuning in because the Now happened to be there spewing their BS.
Get this man a shirt, John.
Yeah, I know. This is a big day for us. It really is. So, I hope today there's an olive branch extended. We're happy to have you. Looking forward to getting your take on the events that have happened and what you think is going to come from all of this fallout from the last ACW show. But we're very willing to give everyone an equal voice. So thanks for coming on.
I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that very much. I'm excited to be able to be heard. There's a narrative going around that we are the villains. We're not the villains of this story. We're the victims. And I think after we have an opportunity to discuss this today, you'll understand that. And then maybe you'll even support us by going to prowrestlingtees.com/sent to slaughter and get the We're the Victims t-shirt.
All right. Well, it is that time of year, holidays coming up. So, Steve, again, I hope you're writing all this stuff down. I've got a birthday coming up.
Oh, Steve, I know which one you're going to like.
Which one is that?
You're going to like the Perfectors of Violence shirt.
I will.
That's what you're gonna like.
No, it's a nice little old school shout out for kind of maybe a Tommy Dreamer, I guess.
I was just gonna say that.
No, familiar. Yes, I think it was an original design that looks really good.
No, this is all awesome. But, we did talk to the Now last week. We brought up the whole the kind of chaos that happened backstage after Mischief Night. Can we get your side maybe of what went on? As we saw in the video, we saw the Now kind of celebrating with family members and friends backstage, and you guys came in into the room. Maybe we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, what you saw, I'm not going to sit and say that what's on video isn't real. What I am going to say, though, is you didn't exactly get the full picture there. So let me begin with this. We get to the locker room. Danny Moff kind of comes to. If you noticed, we helped him to the back. He had hit his head on the table when he went through it, courtesy of Joe Clean, who was sent out by Tommy Dreamer to be involved. Tommy Dreamer telling him to go get his pound of flesh. So Joe Clean came out there, knocked Moff off of a ladder. Moff already was not a fan of heights. This just solidified that for him. But he was going out there. He was conquering his fear. It was really a heroic act of what Moff was doing for his team after I had already been assaulted by Vic's wife when she punched me in my testicles, if I can say that on here.
Yeah.
And then, Mrs. Delicious must pose. So she posed on top of me. It was disgusting. It was uncalled for. It was frankly disrespectful, but we'll move on from that. So Danny Moff falls through the table courtesy of the janitor, and we go to the back. We help him to the back. And what's the first thing that happens? Of course, Danny Moff comes to. What happened is what he's asking. Meanwhile, you have Sean Donovan furious at this point because he had been hogtied to the turnbuckle to the post itself. Which I am going to say this. I'm going to give them credit for that. I had made it very clear in the cage match that we did nothing wrong. We did absolutely nothing wrong by handcuffing the Now to the ropes so that they could not stop Sent to Slaughter from exiting the cage. It was legal. There was nothing wrong with that. So I am going to say this. Kudos to the Now for hog-tying Sean Donovan. While it was a cheap way because it made it very clear that they otherwise were not going to be victorious, and obviously there was an idea put in their head by a veteran like Tommy Dreamer because they wouldn't have been able to come up with that on their own. I do give them credit for that because it was legal. They did play by the rules in that regard. And if that had been it, if it hadn't been interference by Joe Clean, if it hadn't been interference by Mrs. Delicious, then maybe I'd be a little bit more understanding. But regardless, Sean Donovan was furious, rightfully so. I was furious, rightfully so. And when we told Danny Moff what happened, he was furious. And as we walked to the back, there was a monitor set up, and he sees the monitor, and who does he see celebrating but Tommy Dreamer? Cutting the pyro, doing his little dance up on the stage, his best blue meanie. And he's celebrating in front of the Now, mind you, standing in front of them. You can watch the video on Triller. You can look at the photos that were taken. So Moff at this point, inconsolable. He's furious. He's throwing things. We usher him into the dressing room. We took our time in there. We discussed things. Of course, the camera was right in our faces. And I'm sure you saw that video was out there as well. The camera right into our faces in our dressing room because, hey, we need to know, how do you feel about what just happened? Well, look, you caught us at that point. We were a little flustered still. But we had an opportunity to calm down, had an opportunity to discuss what had gone on there. And it was at that point in time that I told them, I said, guys, Tommy Dreamer's behind this. And, I mean, what are you going to do, right? When you have Danny Moff and Sean Donovan furious, where are they? Well, at that point, they were celebrating in their dressing room. So We come out there. Where's the now? Where's the now? They're in their dressing room. Okay. If you watch the video, did we barge in? Yeah, we barged in. They didn't deserve a knock after what had happened. But did we go in there and put our hands on them? No, we came in and we said, what happened? What was that? And we came in there to converse, not confront. We came into there to converse. I pointed out to Tommy Dreamer, you're behind this. Danny Moff saying, I thought you were better than this. And then what happened physically? Aside from the fact that everybody ran in there and got in between us, which wasn't necessary at the time. We did not come in there. We didn't have weapons. We didn't come in there throwing fists. We came in there to confront them. I didn't even know that a camera was on them filming their celebration at the time. But we came in there to have a conversation. Hey, enough's enough. I thought this was where we were going to settle it. You had all your issues with us. I thought this is where we were going to settle things, right? Hale Collins grabs me by the throat. I even held back. I didn't even punch him in the face, which is what I wanted to do, but I didn't. Even though he put his hands on me, a manager, simply a manager, he put his hands on me. And that's when things got heated. That's when Tommy Dreamer started spouting off at the mouth. But I put out a video recently. You guys saw that on social media, and I'm glad that ACW actually shared it because I didn't know if they would or not. But I put it out there. I made it incredibly clear of the quid pro quo that is going on here with Tommy Dreamer. That Tommy Dreamer had to do this for Vic and Hale because Vic and Hale and ACW had delivered for Tommy Dreamer. They gave him an NWA World's Heavyweight Championship match, which he lost. They gave him a Hall of Fame induction into the MJN Center Hall of Fame, the first ever inductee into one of professional wrestling's most famous arenas. And in turn, he was supposed to help the Now. So at this point in time, Tommy Dreamer is doing everything he possibly can because for all he knows, he's about to get kicked out the door. That could happen, right? If you're not delivering, they did everything for him. Kudos to the Now. Kudos to ACW. So Tommy Dreamer now had to step in. All right, guys, here's what's got to happen. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. You got to do that. Because the Now are just going to go in there and punch and kick. That's it. They were just going to go in there and fight, and they would have lost because they would have tried to fight two animals in sent to slaughter. But instead, Tommy Dreamer slid in there with a little tomfoolery, a couple of shenanigans, and look what happened.
So, I mean, I thank you for the other side there, and it sounds to me again like there may even be a little mutual respect for the Now, but it really seems like your problems are stemming from Tommy Dreamer. Well,
there is a level of respect for sure. You can't go to war with people. You can't even look. I didn't physically, aside from the multiple times now that Hale Collins, both at the Hall of Fame and now in the locker room, has assaulted me, and my being assaulted by Mrs. Delicious, who I have absolutely no respect for in any way, shape, or form. But the Now, you can't go to war in the way that Sent to Slaughter has with the Now without having some form of respect as competitors. And for me, standing at ringside, it's impossible for me to not have some respect for men who are willing, as dumb as it might be, but willing to step up to Sent to Slaughter. I wouldn't step up to Sent to Slaughter. Absolutely not. So I respect them. I might not think they're the most intelligent, but I respect them for that. What I don't respect is that they won't come clean about Tommy Dreamer's involvement. And yes, my issues with Tommy Dreamer, it's amazing because if you had asked me that morning, how do you feel about Tommy Dreamer? I would have said, you know what? I have all the respect in the world for Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer, the things he did for this business, continues to do for this business, an ambassador for ACW. I had all the respect in the world, and it wasn't until he was coming down that aisle to his own music, celebrating, that I started to put the pieces together in my mind. I started to go, okay, now I see what he's doing. Now he's trying to take money out of our pockets. He's trying to take food off of our family's tables. So now I have a very different feeling on Tommy Dreamer. Now I understand the carny sleazebag that he is. and probably always was, right? I mean, he's been around forever. This shouldn't have been a surprise to me, but it was. I mean, it was because I guess, I grew up. I was a small child watching Tommy Dreamer in the tail end of his prime. And so now to be here, a grown man that I am, they say never meet your heroes. And man, if your hero's Tommy Dreamer, they're right.
Well, I do have to bring up one thing. Aside from Tommy Dreamer, though, with Miss Delicious, she got involved only after she started climbing the ladder. People would say, what makes her involvement any different than maybe what your involvement was in that match? Anything to say to that?
Well, for instance, I've been in the wrestling business for 26 years. She hasn't been. There's also the fact that I'm a licensed manager of Sense of Slaughter. She's someone's wife who bought a ticket. I'm sure it was comped, but she had a comped ticket. She had a seat in the audience. She was not backstage. She was in the audience. And just like that fat slob that tried to hit Danny Moth and got his shirt ripped clean off by the God King himself, an audience member should never get involved. I don't care if it's your husband in there. I don't care if it's your father in there. I don't care if you're the biggest fan in the world of the Now. You do not get involved. You don't. You just don't. And correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think we can all agree. You don't jump the guardrail. You just don't do that. And that is what she did. I don't care who she's related to, who she's married to. It was absolutely uncalled for. I am a manager. That is my job. I am paid to do that. This is my career. She is a wife.
All right.
There's a difference.
I do want to say, I mean, you're drawing a line in the sand about, what should and shouldn't be done. And again, this is our job to ask these tough questions. So
absolutely. No heat on my end.
Yeah. I apologize if it gets heated here or whatever. But, some people out there have stated after going to Vic's wedding, the Hall of Fame incident, do you have any remorse for those things? Do you think that maybe things went too far?
So first we'll cover the Hall of Fame. We'll work backwards. Hall of Fame, I was invited to induct Bill Apter into the Hall of Fame. Danny Moff was invited to induct Tito Santana into the Hall of Fame. Hale Collins was invited to induct Johnny Rodz into the Hall of Fame, and Vic Delicious showed up on his own. We did not bring Sean Donovan with. We were not there for a fight. We sat as far back away from the Now as we could to show a level of respect. Did I take a couple of jabs when I was up there? Yeah, because they were mean-mugging me the entire time. The entire time I was up there. And okay, I get it. They're angry. They're still angry. It's the first time we'd seen each other since the wedding. But I get it. I understand that. But again, who did what to whom?
Sure.
Who put their hands on whom?
No.
The Now. The Now did.
I do have Joe Matazzaro from the Final Countdown writing in.
Jesus Christ. No. God, no.
If you want to respond to this,
The worst.
he's saying Josh has an uncanny way of distorting reality with what happened in the dressing room. He's confidently leaving out the fact that the Now's kids were in there with his kid.
Sure.
And you can't believe he's making Tommy Dreamer out to be the reason they lost the championships. Any response for Joe out there?
Yeah, here's my response. First of all, Joe, stop trying to get yourself over at my expense, okay? You're obsessed with me. It's weird. But I will say this. Yes, their children were there. That was unfortunate. But as I had said before, I didn't know their children were in there. We came in and started talking to them. We came in there and started to talk. And had they said, hey, guys, let's talk about this. Sorry, my kids are here. Can we go in the other room? We would have said, absolutely, let's go in the other room and have this conversation. But instead, they got right up in our face and they got physical with us in front of their children, making a horrible example for their children. But yeah, watch it back, Joe. Watch it back and see that. And also, Joe getting himself involved, he's been trying to make himself a part of this since Danny Moff and Sean Donovan beat the crap out of him in the cage match. And look, he got himself in the way again, down at ringside again. and he was collateral damage, and I'm sure he's upset about that as well. He talks about how I'm distorting reality. They're called facts, Joe. They're called facts. You don't like that because they don't fit your narrative, but they're facts. Everything I'm saying, watch the video. Every single thing I'm saying, you can try and poke holes in it, but you can't. You can try, but you will fail like you do at everything else. Go back to your Baston radio show. Now, I want to talk about, for a second here, I want to talk about the wedding. You asked if I regret that.
Yep.
I regret how it turned out. Once again, I regret that it became physical. Now, here's why. People can say, how can you blame them for getting physical when you guys showed up at their wedding? Well, we weren't going to until ACW put something out about their wedding. And we looked at that and we said, hold on. It's okay for them to get involved with our personal lives. And I mean that in the sense that when the Now attacked Sent to Slaughter after that match with Crowbar and Kerr, the match was over. Sent to Slaughter was not expecting them to come out. And like the cowards that the Now are, they came out from behind with chairs and attacked Sent to Slaughter, threw a chair, hit me in the knee with a chair. Now, they hit Danny Moff in the back. They hit Sean Donovan in the back, in the ribs, right? Let me ask you a question. When they go home to their families, when we go home to our families, do the injuries that we sustained from a sneak attack that we were not contractually obligated to be a part of, not like a match, this was after the fact, do those injuries, do we leave them at the arena? I'm curious, gentlemen.
No.
When I can't do anything with my family the next day because my knee is swollen up like there's a softball in there and I have to sit on the couch with ice on it. When Danny Moff can't move his neck because of the chair shot that he received. When Sean Donovan's having trouble breathing because of his ribs being bruised. Did all of those injuries, that was only until we walked out of the MJN Center. That didn't affect our personal lives at all, right? No, it's just business. No, I'm sorry. You get injured in a match. Even as a manager, you get injured in a match. Hey, that's the business. It ain't ballet. This is what we signed up for. But to attack us afterwards from behind, as far as I'm concerned, we might as well have been coming out of the grocery store when we were attacked because that match was over. We were no longer wrestlers at that point. We were no longer managers at that point. We were just human beings. And the Now attacked us and injured us. So as far as I'm concerned, when ACW tweeted out about the wedding, all three of us looked at each other and said, that's it. We're going to show them that you don't get to make the rules. You don't get to decide what's business and what's personal. All of this is personal to us. Every last bit of it. Not to mention the fact that when you're champions, you're guaranteed to be booked. You're guaranteed to make X number of dollars more than if you're just booked regularly. So coming after us for our championships, not allowing us to enjoy this championship reign, well, what did that do? That took money out of our pockets. So, yeah, I regret how it turned out. I regret that their children were upset about it. But, again, they brought this on themselves.
Well, I mean, again, I appreciate your candor with us right now. I just want to know, based on what happened at Mischief Night, just like in any other thing, there are people who, the Now are now the champions, right? So what happens to Sent to Slaughter? Do you feel like they're, you all, are you start at the bottom again? What is your response to this? Is there, I don't know how it works in ACW. Have you heard, is there a rematch clause? What goes on with that?
Well, right now, I mean, we're looking through our contracts. We want a rematch, absolutely. But at the same time, I think we'd be okay if it was a handicap match. Throw Tommy Dreamer in there, too. Let Sent to Slaughter beat the crap out of them. There's nothing I would love more than to sit at ringside and watch them beat the crap out of Tommy Dreamer and the Now. Sent to Slaughter would happily do that. They're chomping at the bit to do that. But I want them to get their titles back. Are we going to go to the back of the line? Absolutely not. Did the Now go to the back of the line? No. They didn't. They just ran in with chairs and decided all of a sudden they're now the number one contenders. Oh, and it'll be in a ladder match. So I guess, is that how it works, right? You lose the match, we now get to run in. Maybe we'll run in at the next show. We'll attack them from behind, and then we'll declare a championship match and with a stipulation of our choosing. And then, oh, by the way, we'll look into our contracts and go, oh, it turns out that ACW, and that's on us, by the way, that ACW, that's on me. I shouldn't say us. That's on me. That is on me as their manager. Not looking into those contracts deeply enough to know that ACW can just put them in a match. Now, we could have chosen to say, no, we're not going to do it, but then we're in breach of contract. And then we're stripped of the titles, and we no longer work for ACW. And who does that help? Certainly doesn't help attendance, because we're the ones putting the butts in the seats. So, no, we're not going to the back of the line. So I don't know what they have planned. I'm sure they have some ticker tape parade and celebration for themselves, but I don't know what it is, but we'll be watching. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to be there in Poughkeepsie, booked or not. Because actually, I found out, do you know that if you have a ticket, you're allowed to jump over the guardrail and get into the ring and get involved in a match? So, yeah, we'll be there no matter what.
I mean, it certainly has been, I feel like, the year for the Now and Sent to Slaughter. I mean, this rivalry has been going on all year. I mean, not just in ACW, a little bit outside ACW, just tearing up the Northeast right over here. So it's something that's been pretty crazy for 2025, don't you think, Jonathan? Too weird.
Yeah, and again, I think this shines a light on, it's definitely better for some people right now than it is for others, but ultimately you can't go too far in the world of professional wrestling without hearing the names The Now or Sent to Slaughter. And I, as a fan, without getting into all of the weeds that we've gotten into today, like obviously it's a great time to be a fan of ACW and to get to see this play out, right in front of all of us. And I just, I'm happy that we had you on to be able to be fair and give you your, not flowers, but your ability to respond.
I appreciate it very much. I really do. And I think that it's important also to understand that our intent is for this to continue in ACW, because the things that Sent to Slaughter, that Danny Moff and Sean Donovan want to do to the Now and to Tommy Dreamer, hell, I'd love to do it myself to Tommy Dreamer. What we want to see happen to them is not something that can happen on the streets. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. But inside the squared circle, we can do that without having to worry about being sent to jail. So I hope that the fans are enjoying this. I don't care about these fans. They're disgusting. They smell like rotten eggs. But I hope they're enjoying this, because this is where it's going to play out in ACW. We're not just in ACW. We're all over the place. But ACW is where this is, even though the Now likes to follow us from place to place, too. I hear they're going to be at Fight Factory Wrestling, where Danny Moff is the Fight Factory Premier Champion. So that's wonderful, too. And I hope there's enough security so that they stay the hell away from us, because Danny Moff has to focus on his title defense against Joey Janela. And that is, by the way, I'll give them a plug. Not that they deserve it, but I'll give them a plug. Starland Ballroom, November 15th. So that's coming up in just a little under 2 weeks.
And that's the No Thanksgiving, correct?
No Thanksgiving.
No, definitely something to look forward to. But I think since we have you here, I do want to kind of ask you a little bit about your background, because you've been in the wrestling business for a long time now, not just as in the promotional field, not as a promoter, but also as a wrestler. Can we get some info about that for fans that are watching? Because you have also graced the squared circle, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reluctant to say too much, because I don't want these fans who like to look at me like I'm some random mark who jumped the guardrail and bought a fancy jacket on Amazon like everybody else out there who calls themselves a manager. No, these are tailor-made, okay? You can't order these on Amazon. But yeah, I've been in the business for 26 years. I started in this business when I was 15 years old, and I started in the MJN Center when it was the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, carrying Bill Apter's bags into there for ECW Hardcore Heaven 99, which, by the way, Tommy Dreamer was on that card. Were you there?
Yeah, I was there, man. Yeah, I used to go.
Tommy Dreamer was on that card against Lance Storm. And if you watch that back, if you go on Peacock and you watch that back, you will see Tommy Dreamer whipped Lance Storm into the guardrail, into a young man wearing a striped long sleeve shirt. That was me.
Wow. That's awesome.
He hurt me that night, physically hurt me that night. But I've been in the business for a very long time. I trained, and this is the thing too, right? I run my mouth and people go, oh, you're afraid, you'll run away. Listen, my career, I haven't wrestled in 17 years. I am a manager. I'm behind the microphone. I am a producer. These are the things that I do now, right? I am the guiding light to Sent to Slaughter. But you have to think about that. How can some random guy who knows nothing about wrestling guide two of the most well-versed veterans in professional wrestling in Danny Moff and Sean Donovan? And it's because I myself I have a freaking PhD in professional wrestling. I was trained by Afa Anawahi. Afa, the Wild Samoan at the Wild Samoan Pro Wrestling Training Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's where I was originally trained. I wrestled for OVW, where I sat at the side of Al Snow, learning from him. Rip Rogers teaching me in the ring. Nick Dinsmore teaching me in the ring. I wrestled for 10 years. I had every bump, every bruise that any other wrestlers had. My bump card is far from empty. A conversation Taz and I have had before. Ask him. He'll tell you. My bump card is far from empty. Unfortunately, my bump card filled up a lot faster than maybe I wanted it to. But then I found my real calling. I found my calling, which was to find other people who had been disrespected, other people who had been pushed aside, like Sent to Slaughter. And I have the ability to now help them and guide them from all the things that I learned, from all the experience I have. Because sometimes when it's happening to you, it's really tough to keep that focus. But when you see it happening to other people, you're able to give them the proper advice. You're able to steer them in the right direction. And for me, you know, I'll let you ask the questions about my career if you want to.
Well, I think obviously, again, some very important accolades here, and you're an award-winning host, you color commentator. I have here Manager of the Decade.
Manager of the Decade. There's my, right there. There's my plaque. Right there, Manager of the Decade.
So obviously you've got the credentials, and again, maybe there's somebody tuning in tonight or they're watching this later that didn't know this about you. So is there anything else about your career prior to what you're doing now that you want out there, that you want to, maybe you don't want to give too much, like you said, but is there anything that...
No, yeah, I'll make it pretty clear. I don't back down from a fight. And, Hale puts his hands on me. This isn't my place to get physically involved. All right, that ended a long time ago. My career ended from a severe neck injury. My last singles match that I had was against Rich Swann in his first singles match. He hit me with a crucifix pin. I rolled out of that, felt a crunch in my neck, and that was kind of the beginning of the end for me. But the reality of it is, that was a long time ago. Wounds heal. And if you keep pushing me and you keep trying to put your hands around my neck, maybe I will have to get involved a little bit. Maybe I will have to smack you around a little bit, because I am getting sick and tired of these random women coming in and hitting me in the balls. That's kind of ridiculous. I'm getting, it's a little much here. And the fact is, I can defend myself if need be. But unlike people like Vic and Hale and guys like a Tommy Dreamer, I have this other attribute. That's up here. That's my brain. So I can actually use that. I can use my intelligence, my superior intelligence, to help Sent to Slaughter. When they hold a championship, I hold that championship. When they win, I win. When they lose, I lose twice. That's how I see it.
No, sure.
But you see these championships behind me. Yeah. Some of these I was a promoter for. Some of these I was a producer for. Some of these were a gift, like a gift from Matt Cardona. That one right there. That one I won. That I won. There's some medals hanging behind there as well from my amateur career. So don't try and threaten me. Don't try and put your hands on me. I might not be as young as I once was, I might not be an active competitor, but I can absolutely smack you in the mouth if you keep pushing me.
No, I do have to compliment this your man cave in this room. I mean, this is a great
my
trophy
office.
room. This is a great
I'm a
office.
grown-ass man. This is my office.
It's a great. No, I want to bring up though, because this is a nice little segue, because there is something else going on. I want to get your take on it, and we definitely want to talk about this with My Fandom Collectibles. And if we could talk a little bit about what's going on, Josh, maybe you could mention your involvement with this. I'd like to definitely bring this up, and we're checking out the site right now with some of the My Fandom indie superstars over here, guys. I mean, this is great. Josh, can you tell us a little bit about any of this to change topic a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, the last thing to kind of as a transition from it is, the Now have their first ever action figures available now for pre-order. I was incredibly instrumental in the deal that was made with ACW to feature ACW stars. Again, my fault. Apparently, I'm not good at reading contracts, because this is my fault. They had the ability to then choose whoever they wanted, and they chose the Now. But what I will say is I hope you go buy those figures, because then Vic and Hale make money, and guess who else makes money off of that too? So I hope you'll go and do that. And I hope that people will buy those figures, and they'll also buy the Danny Moff Poughkeepsie Sucks ACW branded figure.
No, I definitely
then
want
they
that
can
one, yeah.
beat the living hell out of the Now in the way that I mean, it'll be just like real life.
So, I mean, obviously, you said you've been involved for a long time, but you probably started like most of us as a fan.
Oh yeah,
I love this, throwback to the Hasbros that of old. So, again, I want to just be clear. We were happy to have you on, and to change pace a little bit, I just wanted to kind of round you out as a person as well. So one of my favorite things is to try to figure out, like, as a fan, what got you into it. So what, as far as figures go, obviously this is a passion project that you're doing now, but what was maybe your favorite figure or your first figure or something? Why this, why now?
So the first wrestling figures I ever had came from my brother. He got them for his birthday, and I swiftly stole them. It was the Hasbro Jake the Snake Roberts and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. And I was just, mesmerized by them. I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. So for me, everybody has their thing. I can't remember. I know there were some LJNs floating around the house. I don't really remember them too much. I think my brother had those. He's a couple years older than me. But they to me, the Hasbros were they were wrestling figures. They were where all of my creativity, where I was able to get that out, where I was able to create my storylines and my little fig fed. And it's so awesome, years later, to hear guys like Major Wrestling Figure Podcast and all the other podcasts out there talking about their own fig feds when they were kids, because none of us knew that other people were doing this, right? We were all just putting on these epic cards. But for me, it's funny, my favorite of all time is Bret the Hitman Hart. And my favorite run of his was 1997, when he was completely disrespected by the United States of America and not appreciated for the good guy that he was. Lord knows I'm familiar with that, but Bret Hart's my favorite of all time. My favorite action figure, I think, of all time is the Bret Hart Hasbro figure. Now you can see there's a lot of, real collectors would be able to tell just by the boxes, even out of focus here, what series these are. But I will say, right up there, and I believe down there, and then over there, is there a wide shot? I don't know. Yeah, I can see a wide shot. I don't know if anyone else can. But I've got 3 autographed Jack's Bret Hart figures that he and I did a show together recently, Squared Circle Expo, and he signed those for me. And because I'm kind of a big deal, I didn't even have to wait in line, so that was cool. But the Hasbros, to me, there's a million companies out there right now. I think there's actually 9 different companies making retro figures, and retro is shorthand for Hasbro style figures. I don't think anybody on the market at all has come even remotely close to. Some have come close, but I don't think anybody is as close as we are with them being true to the sculpt of Hasbro without copying it. Some of them where you look at it and you'll go, man, that's really close. And if you look really closely, they kind of literally copied a Hasbro mold, and I think that's a little cheap. So we haven't done that. We have an amazing sculptor over at Elite Wrestling Collectibles on Instagram, and he does an incredible job. He'll also take commissions from people as well, and I encourage people to get that. But between him and then a gentleman named Alan who does an amazing job with the prototypes, if you see these hand-painted prototypes in the pictures and you're impressed by that, when you see them in person, I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to see them in person in Poughkeepsie, but when you see them, the detail and how small the detail is, it is unbelievable what this guy does. But yeah, my for me, it was Hasbro all the way. And while there are so many different companies trying to pay homage to the Hasbro style, I looked at it and I thought it was something actually, my son had asked me for Sense of Slaughter figures. And I had to explain to him they don't make Sense of Slaughter figures. And he said, but they're champions. And he's smart. He knows they're the greatest of all time. And I said, yeah, but they don't make them. They're indie wrestlers. He said, well, why don't they make indie wrestling figures? And I thought, that's a great question. Yeah. Because this is something that people should have at their merch table. This is something that I think every independent wrestler should strive to have an action figure. Because that is, to me, that has always kind of been the how do you know you made it when you get an action figure. And, I had that also. I had the honor of getting an action figure alongside the Blue Meanie in a 2-pack when I was doing a podcast with the Blue Meanie. And Cella Toys at the time, they made a 2-pack of us to promote the podcast. And for me, when my wrestling career ended in 2008, that idea of getting an action figure was gone. That was never going to happen for me. So when I got this figure of myself in a suit, which I wasn't really expecting to ever have an action figure in a suit, when I got that figure, that was a dream come true. And that was something that I thought I would like to see my colleagues in indie wrestling have that opportunity. It's awesome that these companies are putting out figures of guys like Jake the Snake, right? Getting more figures, Macho Man getting some amazing figures out there now. But to me, it was a guy like Crowbar had never gotten an action figure. I
couldn't believe that. Yeah, I saw that.
And it's just like, and I started to look at it, and this is where you're gonna see that I'm a nice guy because I don't have an ego, right? Everybody thinks I do, but I thought to myself, in what world do I, a guy whose career didn't pan out in ring from injury, ended in 2008, and now I'm just a commentator and a manager, and I have a figure, but a guy like Crowbar doesn't? That didn't feel right. That didn't sit right with me, and I felt that there was a market there, that while everybody else, there may be 8 other companies making these retros, none of them are doing what we're doing with the indie stars. And I think that that's really important.
And what I'm hearing here, Steve, and again, full disclosure, we were talking about these figures not too long ago. I didn't realize that you were behind them. So I will say that I threw out, a couple times like, oh, well, maybe, but it sounds like that, podcast figure. I mean, they're
saying, hey, maybe the now doesn't show up on your show anymore, right? Maybe.
I mean, there's always a bargain for everybody's got a price.
Everyone's got a price. I mean, my price may be my own action figure. That may be it.
But I think
slide into my DMs,
Absolutely.
But I think that is incredible though for the whole Crowbar, never having a figure, even a Danny Moff, even with the Poughkeepsie Sucks T-shirt, two different T-shirts. The now, there is an announcement I saw today also, which another one's going to be announced pretty soon. So make sure everybody stays tuned to that. Check out myfandomcollectibles.com. Definitely worth, I think, and that's the thing is like you're saying. I think all these wrestlers who do get figures made of them, that's the perfect thing to have at the merch table, because
Yeah.
for me as a fan, like there's only so many 8x10s you can get of the same of the guys you like, right? And I think I'd rather pick up the figure next time, you know, if they had their own figure. That's like the one key thing I would get, especially with kids.
Yeah, and again, like I'm a fan. I'm new to this, but you know, it's a good tie-in for this promotion. I often feel like the word indie, like an indie promotion, it gets almost like a bad rap, like because of its indie. But what I've seen with ACW is it's anything but indie. I mean, it's the highest caliber of production and bringing in all these people. And I think this is just another thing that sets. I know you're not completely affiliated with ACW, however, it is definitely a great thing, a great tie-in to have for these people.
Listen, Series 2 will have a heavy ACW influence. Not every figure will be ACW, but there will be a heavy influence of ACW talent. You know, the one you mentioned before, we have one more in the series that's about to be announced, and that is a tie-in with WrestlePro, which is it's a New Jersey-based promotion, and it's a place that a lot of stars that you're familiar with have gone there, have come from there, and it's a place that I've worked before and continue to work at as Sent to Slaughter are now the tag team champions over there. And in case anybody's wondering, Sean Donovan will be in Series 2. I'm going to announce that right now. Sean Donovan will be in Series 2, and the only reason...
Breaking news.
Breaking news, right?
That is breaking news. You're welcome. The only reason Sean Donovan is not in Series 1 is because the Now and Tommy Dreamer had Sean Donovan removed from a booking that took place at that orchard. And that happened to be a little behind the curtain where everybody got scanned for the figures for Series 1. So because they had him removed so that Danny Moff was going to be an easier target for Vic Delicious, that's why he wasn't able to do it. So thank you very much. That's money out of our pocket. We really appreciate that. But by Series 2, you'll be able to complete Sent to Slaughter, and I have it on good authority that it's going to match up with the Danny Moff gear very well.
Oh, very cool. You know, Josh, man, we thank you so much for joining us today, getting your side out there with everything, talking about these figures. Definitely, once again, everybody check out myfandomcollectibles.com. But more importantly, where can fans keep up with what you're doing out there on social, and where can they follow you?
They can follow me at So Says Shernoff. I thank you not to make any comments that are derogatory. I'm a relatively positive person, and I like to keep the positivity. So I prefer that you don't send videos and pictures of me being assaulted in my testicles by women. I appreciate the people who do stand up for me. I appreciate the people who stand up for Sent to Slaughter. Of course, you can also support us. You can go to prowrestlingtees.com/Sent to Slaughter. We have some incredible shirts there. If you have a wedding to attend, we now have a beautiful tuxedo shirt that's available. We have the S2FNS shirt, another original design, which is great. I'm very excited about that. We mentioned some of the other ones before, but yeah, there's some really good shirts out there. I used to sell them at the merch table at some of these events, but I was spending too much money on Purell, having to interact with people. So I prefer to kind of take a step back. Maybe I'll get out there again at some point, but right now I'm just a little disgusted by how we've been treated by some of the fans. But yeah, you can follow me on social media at So Says Shernoff across the board. And if you're interested, if you're an indie wrestler or a personality in wrestling and you're interested in getting your own figure, there are a couple of different ways. There's a criteria, but we make sure that there are going to be some people in Series 2 that maybe you've never heard of before. And just like Series 1, maybe there's some people you've never heard of. But there will be there a lot of different people going in. We're trying to really make sure that there's an opportunity for everybody. We have a special figure coming out as well that will be announced soon that is not part of Series 1. It's a one-off charity figure. So that's really exciting, and more on that soon. And I'll give you one more little bit, just because I like you guys.
Nice. This is good.
One more little bit. There is another series coming. Nobody else knows about this, except for the people who are directly involved in it. But there is another series because just like there are these indie wrestlers who never got the figures that they deserve to have, there are also some people that maybe they wrestled for large companies and for whatever reason didn't get the figure that they deserved. Maybe they didn't wrestle for a large company. Maybe they were a personality that never got a figure. But without them, maybe wrestling wouldn't be the way that it is today. So we have another series that is an Indie Stars that's going to be announced very shortly. And I'm very excited about who we have signed up for that. So, myfandomcollectibles.com. Things are growing here. I'm a businessman at the end of the day. And I know I got a little, flustered earlier and said, that I would partake in physicality if need be. But that's only in a defensive state. I hope you understand. That's only to defend myself. I have no interest in doing that. I have sense of slaughter. Why on earth would I want to get into a fight when I can have them get into the fight for me? I mean, that's just logic.
Sure. No, once again, man, we thank you so much. And we know we're going to see you No Thanksgiving, November 15th for Fight Factory. Maybe we'll see you January 3rd at the Poughkeepsie Rumble. More importantly,
I'm going to be there. I don't know if I'm booked, but I'm going to be there.
All right. Either way. So, and once again, myfandomcollectibles.com, guys. I mean, Jonathan, I know you ordered your figures, so.
It's the holiday season. That's all I can say. And I am excited about this. Possibly. And I don't know, again, how I always was a big fan of the accessories. So, like Jake, the Hasbro came with the snake and all that. Possibly a little, like a cup for your action figure.
A cup from that. I think I'll get a cup in real life.
Yeah, just for the testes,
Yeah. I think that's what I need.
Yeah. I'm just, again, I'm an idea guy. So.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's unbelievable. These women. I will say, fun fact, before I know you guys are trying to wrap this up, and I've got to go because I have a ton of important things to do, but it is important to mention what Vic's wife said to me. Oh. Because everybody sees her giving me the finger, and they see the shocked look on my face as she's low blowing me, but you can't see. You see her mouth moving, but you can't hear what it is that she said. What she said was, "Oh my God, that's how big it's supposed to be."
That's not a well, that is kind of an exclusive, Jonathan. But
I don't know what to do with that.
I don't know. Well, Josh, man, thanks so much. Thanks for all the breaking news.
You know what? That's what Vic said to her on their wedding night. No. I don't know what to do with that.
Oh man. Well, hey man, I'm happy we're happy to break news with you and all this figure stuff too, and even I guess what actually was said in the ring. But man, thanks so much. We do appreciate your time and for you coming out and telling your side of everything. Okay.
Thank you. We are the victims.
There you go.
Not the villains. Thank you.
All right, man. Josh, thanks so much.
Wow.
All right, man.
Wow.
Hey, we broke some news. We know what a series 2. We're gonna see a Sean Donovan in the lineup
and a whole new group of action figures. I want to say there was some talk about T-shirts, ProWrestlingTees.com. You can find another wrestling podcast on there. But I'm pretty impressed by this shirt here. What do we have here?
It's an awesome T-shirt, man.
It's an awesome
from
T-shirt.
Awesome Championship Wrestling. We got an awesome shirt, but more importantly, man, I need my 3D my 3D goggles. Did you say goggles?
Glasses, sure, whatever.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
But women's wrestling, that's really really fun shirt, man.
Yeah, this is a Mary Benjamin original. You can find her on social media or Etsy at Bonker Dolls. And she's been trying her hand at some designs, and this is one of them.
Great artwork. I didn't want to say during it, I didn't want to give him too much props, but Josh is a Bret Hart fan. I'm a Bret Hart fan. I got a Mary Benjamin original Bret Hart artwork too.
Yeah.
At one of the shows we went to. I know there's a lot of things going on, man. Fight Factory's coming up. You have the big show that's happening pretty soon.
Yep.
I got Wrestling with Character over in Connecticut, and then right back into the swing of things with ACW at the beginning of the year. So I mean, November's here, man. I can't believe it. This year's been crazy enough.
And I'm just going to say, based on today's interview, there's probably going to be some again, hate mail. So be sure, see what's your address real quick, just in case anybody wants to send that out.
Yeah, we'll reach out to us. So I think the biggest thing we have to the shout out is Beacon Podcasting, because that's where we are today, guys. BeaconPodcasting.com. That's where we are today, man. This is it. We wouldn't be able to do it without Beacon Podcasting. So check us out. A lot of things happened, though, on the weekend. A lot of other wrestling news we want to get into. But more importantly, if you guys want to do a podcast, head on over to Beacon Podcasting. Check them out. Tell Sal AWP sent you, right?
And I'll just say that, again, starting a podcast isn't as scary as it may seem, especially when you have pros behind the scenes here. And this studio, everything's just completely professional, and I'm such a fan. It's a little bit of a hike for me, but well worth it. I love coming up here because I know that it's gonna look good, sound good. So I would definitely,
highly recommend
don't wait for the New Year's resolution to start that podcast. Come by tomorrow and get that podcast started.
I'm saying maybe not another wrestling podcast, but any other podcast you can have, guys. But Jonathan, man, a lot of stuff was happening this past weekend. We had Saturday night's main event going up against Game 7 of the World Series, going up against a little Halloween party at Sal's house. A lot of things happening. But tell me, man, so this show was already up against the World Series. And when you're up against another major sports show, they kind of want to throw out all the bells and whistles, I guess, to kind of have people tune in.
4 matches.
It's a Saturday night's main event. What could you expect? But a lot of changes. I guess the first thing we could talk about on this was the Jade Cargill win. How do you feel about Jade? And ever since she's been in WWE and now beating Tiffany Stratton for the women's championship.
I mean, in my house, it's always Tiffy time. So I was a little bummed, I'll be honest. However, I just
picture that you have a clock that just says always.
Yeah, it's got the hands. It's Tiffy, and yeah.
Anyway,
I think that what they've done with Jade since having her in WWE, I'm going to get some hate for this, I'm sure, but I feel like they did all the right things with her.
Yeah.
They could have just right up to the main roster. They worked with her a little bit. She took some time. I think she's only improving her craft. The match felt a little squashy to me, a little one-sided, and maybe that's just because they wanted to show how dominant she can be. But you can't say that she doesn't look good as champion.
No, she's got the Venus de Milo. She's cut out of stone, right? She's everything you'd want a superstar to be. She's got the she got it. She's got the look. She got the talk. Whatever. But no, I don't know, man. I'm still on the. I don't know, because I feel like Tiffany Stratton had the fan base behind her for years, and then they didn't put the championship on her, but the fans still wanted her. And then when they finally put the championship on her, people were like, all right, we'll take this ride a little bit. But then I don't know if it's just that she didn't have a good challengers or over the past few months or what. I don't know if I don't want to even categorize it as it felt stale, like like the stale championship run with that. I don't know if I want to say that, but I still feel that it might be too early for Jade to win it. And you can go back, I believe, her WrestleMania match. I thought she wasn't there. I'm trying to remember the match. Do you remember it was Jade,
Bianca,
it was like
Naomi?
Yeah. So, and even then, like, people were like, oh, they're probably going to give it to her there, but they didn't give it to her then. And so to put it on this Saturday night's main event kind of a thing, it feels weird to me. It didn't feel like the right time. If she would have won it maybe at WrestleMania coming up next year, I would have been like, okay. But to me, like, I feel like too many things were pulled this weekend for that to switch. And I don't know if they just needed to get it off her for some reason. Something happened or what? I don't know. But to me, I like when girls are like this, or guys like the giants are treated like true giants and beasts of what they are. And she is, she reminds me of like a China 2.0, right? And in this day and age, China. She's that beast of a woman. She's a beast, but she's the dominant the species over there of what she's doing. So to give her the championship, or for her to earn the championship this time, I don't know. I still feel like it's a little bit too soon. And granted, too soon. She's been there for how many years now? It doesn't seem like that long, though. Like, she's still evolving. I think she's getting more training over here than what she's ever had before.
Sure.
So it's still a bit of a learning curve for her. But I guess it's one of those things where, like, well, let's see what you can do with it, right?
Well, and I, this year, believe it or not, and people are going to feel however they want to feel about WWE, but, they gave Jay a chance. He won the Rumble, won the title. I feel like this is they're trying some things.
Sure.
Like I don't think they're in like panic mode where they're just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. But obviously the Jay run, now you've got Jade, and I would say similar to what you were talking about. Now that she's done this, you kind of have to book her as a very dominant
Sure, yeah.
champion. That's what I would do anyway. But I think that what you saw with Tiffy is that whole thing was with her and Nia.
Yeah.
And I think that it's definitely worth stating how good Tiffany's matches were, given the fact that she's fairly new to this and that there were a lot of like mismatches. Like you wouldn't be like, oh man, I can't wait to see that Nia versus Tiffany match. But like somehow they made people care about it, and they made people care about the cash in and all that, which was great. So Tiffany's going to be fine. I think she's going to be a champion again sometime shortly. But I look forward to seeing what they do with Jade. I would assume that we can't not state the obvious, which is probably that this is going to lead to some sort of Bianca versus Jade, which I think is kind of what you want, maybe. So I don't know. I'm excited about it.
No, yeah, because as we get closer to War Games or Survivor Series this year, it's the stepping stones into WrestleMania season, only a few months away. So I can see that the wheels are starting to turn for what's going on. But I think the biggest thing out of this weekend is the CM Punk win.
Sure.
Been in WWE for the past 2 years, didn't go for the title. And that's one of those things where it's like if he walked in there and got the championship, they'd been like, he just walks in. So like I feel like they kept it off him, or maybe he requested it to keep it off of him, to where he kind of almost wanted to earn it back. He's been gone for 10 years, did a little stint here and there and came back, and didn't kind of really, I feel, didn't want to be handed everything, wasn't handed everything, kind of earned it. Earning it on a Saturday night's main event, I guess, only because of Seth Rollins' recent injury. And, the tides change, people get hurt, things happen. You kind of have to shuffle the cards a little bit and figure out what we need to do leading into the next season up into WrestleMania. So I think it's a great call. I think having him as a champion, for years when he was gone, fans are still chanting CM Punk. He's one of the biggest names in wrestling. I feel like definitely having him as a champion right now is solid for business, right? So I'm not mad at it. I'm happy. I'm just kind of like, man, it happened at Saturday night's main event. That should have been a Rumble, or just should have been a Mania match. That should, like, for him to win it the first time back since returning, should have been at maybe a larger scale pay-per-view.
So I think the match was, there was some mistiming and things like that. Did you see what the internet mafia were saying about Jay in the match?
I heard maybe some people thought he might have been under an influence of something.
Okay, so taking the Jeff Hardy route.
Assuming, I don't know. I'm just
I will say that it was pretty clear there was a moment when Punk went to go give him like a swinging neck breaker, and it didn't quite go the way that it should have. And it looks like, to me, again, untrained eye, 0 years in the professional wrestling world, but it looks like he possibly came up pretty quick and kicked him in the head to say, like, hey, let's try that again, and got another neck breaker on it. But I don't know. Like, to me, I totally get the appeal of Jey Uso. He goes through the crowd, and it's great and everything, but I've just not really been impressed with his matches. Like, he's blown up when he gets to the ring and he's doing the yeet thing, and then he does the thing again and they do it again, and that's all fine and dandy. But, like, I don't know. It's almost like and out of those two, it had to be Punk.
Sure, yeah.
It had to be Punk. And so I'm excited because we really don't know what's going to happen. It could be Braun. It could be Rollins coming back. It could be any number of people.
Yeah.
But I think that having Punk as the champion right now, it's time.
Yeah. No, and like I said, leading, like this is kind of like the season. The tickets starting going on sale for WrestleMania. They usually go on sale in November, I believe, right? So it's the beginning, I feel like, of WrestleMania season, even though it doesn't start for another 2 months. But we're starting to get the beginning of what it's going to lead into. So I'm kind of curious, and especially with all the decks being shuffled. But I think one of the biggest things, too, coming up in the week, we're going to have this tournament to who could be Cena's final opponent.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, right? Like, who's the last guy you're going to fight? And it's like, is it going to be a new guy, a new kid? Or is it going to be a vet, somebody that he had some kind of experience with in the past?
Yeah.
And then you kind of go out on a high note. I think I have to ask you, maybe off the top, I think there's a few names we could bring up and talk about, but just personally, who would you want to see be the last opponent for John Cena? And, who wins?
To me, it can go two ways, right? Like, it's either got to be that nostalgia hit, like Batista, and Cena, or Punk and Cena again for the last time, or whatever. Or I think it has to go with somebody who it's going to help the most. We saw, like, when Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin fought, like, that was Angle's last match. Like, no one really cared about that, right?
Yeah.
Like, this has the potential to really set someone, like, does it need to be Dominic Mysterio? Probably not. Dom's pretty much made,
he's a main guy. You don't need that.
on his own. So for me, like, I would love to see it be somebody possibly who's in NXT right now, someone who, they talked about it. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense, but like a JD McDonough, somebody like that is really gonna be there probably for the long haul, and this win, or even just being in the ring with them for the last match. I don't even think it needs to be Gunther. Like, I thought about it. Gunther's probably going to go against Lesnar at Mania, I would assume. I mean, let's be honest, that was a match that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need that, really. When he comes back from, I think he's injured right now. When he comes back, he'll, be thrust right back in there. But I just don't want it to be like a throwaway. And we saw a couple of matches announced for Raw next week, which will be in Boston. We saw it's Sheamus versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And then we have Damian Priest going against Rusev. I mean, no one of those four, to me, seemed like the guy.
Yeah. And they announced that it could be somebody from Raw, it could be somebody from SmackDown, it could be NXT, or somebody from the outside, which brings me to, some of the rumblings. Even like a ACW champion, Matt Cardona, had some kind of history with Cena before, but could be on this tournament, if you will, to fight him. What about a name like Edge, an outsider who's kind of maybe done with AEW or is still there, but would they lend that name out to that could be a first time ever to where somebody who's not signed to go against him? Or what about maybe even returning Jericho?
Yeah.
And we can name drop all day and like who could it be, what if, right? But one of the things they always said is like the Undertaker would always like, you always go out on your back, right? So, no matter who it is out of all these guys, and I want to bring up one guy you mentioned too that I think it would probably be the perfect choice to pass the torch. I'll say in a minute, but all these names, who's going to sell that show, who's going to win? To me, Cena losing is the right thing, but I feel like, since they screwed up his whole story at the beginning of the year with the whole heel turn and never went anywhere, and like it could have went somewhere, but they just whatever The Rock did, and I feel like I would love to see Cena win the last match and go out as that last true champion, superstar, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. I granted, yes, I guess the right thing is to lose on your way out, right? So if he's gonna lose, I mean, out of everybody I could think of, you did bring up Gunther, and I think, they've been riding a rocket with that guy. He's done so much for everybody so far, from being world champion to passing that on to others. And, I feel like out of anybody who deserves it, I would probably say Gunther maybe out of that. And to see them fight each other and to Gunther to take that into the WrestleMania season, being the guy who ended Cena's career, you're a made guy with that too,
Sure.
right? So it's like if you win, you're a made guy. If you lose, it would have to be to like an old legend or something. Like if it is a Jericho, just Cena has to win, or So I don't know. It's that what if game.
I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever what I'm about to say, but what I would really like
Welcome to the podcast world.
Yeah. I think it's got to be a big thing. So, like, at the final match, it's Saturday Night Main Event. The locker room clears. They're all, like, on the stage or they're along the aisleway. They're seeing all these people. But the person that I think would be awesome, and you're talking about someone who's not with the company right now, would be, and the fans really wanted this person not too long ago, but Killer Cross. I would love to see some involvement with him.
Sure, yeah.
Even if it's not just even if he's not the last match, get him back involved. But I think that, remember when we all were watching Undertaker Lesnar beat the streak?
Yep.
Like, what happens if we see that again, 2.0, someone beats Cena and everybody there's jaw drops because they're probably thinking it's his last match.
Yeah.
We want him to go out and they have to do something because the last thing with Goldberg kind of, and again, that was another Gunther thing. Like, Gunther already kind of retired Goldberg. I don't know. I just think that it has to mean something.
Sure. And I'll play one little devil's advocate kind of thing to where ESPN's first show, WrestlePalooza, Brock beat Cena. Could this just be the ending to where we see Cena beat Brock finally, kind of a thing? So I don't know. A lot of variables. A lot of things can happen. We'll get to that in December when we get to it, if we get to it. But no, man, what a show! I think we had Josh Shernoff. Thanks again for Josh. MyPhantomCollectibles.com, guys. Could see possible podcast figures maybe one day.
I mean, maybe instead of sending him nasty things because he said he didn't really like that, maybe send him, some nudges about how you'd like to see fully articulated action figures of Credo and JB.
Action grip or kung fu grip
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
I think...
I don't know. We need a microphone or something.
I just remember my favorite, of course, Rick Rude. He had... It was kind of like this.
Yeah.
It looked almost like a bushwhacker. So I'll do that. I don't care. I'm happy to have that.
Perfect, guys. Yeah. Well, make sure you follow us on all of our socials. Instagram, Another Wrestling Podcast. YouTube, at Another Wrestling Podcast. Twitter, at A Wrestling POD. You could have hit the whole name in there when we made it. So, and then Another Wrestling Podcast.
You actually really liked POD at the time, I think.
That's it, man. But either way, guys, follow us, like us, subscribe. We'll see you next week, God willing. So who'd you vote for?
Tunning. And... I don't remember. Gorilla. Yeah, sure.